What's up, sports fans? Welcome to Sports Opinions Podcast, episode number 15. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter at @AQuestaNBM. And, of course, as always, find Sports Opinions at SportOpinion30. With me today is someone that you've heard before, someone that I hear a lot of because he's in my family, my brother, David Cuesta. What's up, David?
Hola, everyone. I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited for today's itinerary.
Absolutely. We have a fun one today. We're going to talk about everything from Tiger Woods, baseball, NFL, college basketball, you name it in sports. Basically, we're only leaving out the NBA because playoffs are coming up soonish and there's not much to talk about right now. Nothing really has changed in the NBA.
Except for maybe some fights and stuff happening, but
Yeah, some knuckling up. But we already covered all the fighting in the NBA and just how it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But one thing, all you gamers out there, I want to throw this out there. David is actually undertaking something that's pretty damn cool. David, tell him a little bit about what you're doing.
Me and my friend from college, Scott, we are Twitch streaming under sad_productions. This twitch.tv /sad_productions. We play a multitude of games, and every Friday we do like a free game Friday. If you like games, pop on over, but if you don't, it's whatever.
Yeah, and you can find them also on Twitter at @ProductionSad, and you can find David on Twitter at dquesta308, right, Dave?
Yep.
All right, so, intro's out of the way. We don't have to go too far into that because if people listen back, they already heard David talk before, so they know what he brings to the table. So we're going to go right into it. We're going to start talking about March Madness, the big dance, the fun time it is in March. Last time you heard me, I was with Josh and we did a March Madness preview, and that ended up sucking in general because everyone's bracket and everyone's predictions have sucked completely. David, did you even do a bracket? Did you do a bracket, David?
I actually did not do a bracket. This is actually my first year not doing a bracket. So I'm happy I didn't, though, because I would just be sad at this point.
So you're one of the smart ones because obviously we've had first ever 16 defeating a 1 with UMBC beating Virginia, which is friggin' awful. But, that's not even the end of it. Buffalo beats Arizona in that same exact bracket. Loyola Chicago still going on now to the Sweet 16, beating Miami and then beating number 3 Tennessee. And, let's just top it off with last round Nevada beat Cincinnati. So that is in the South bracket. There isn't a single top 1 through 4 seed. David, what the hell?
Yep.
What is going on with all these upsets? Because I can continue Marshall beating Wichita State. We have Butler beating Arkansas, which isn't huge at the 10-7, but it's still a little bit of an upset. There's so much going on. Syracuse, who has no business being in the tournament, beating TCU, then beating Michigan State. It's really, for lack of a more intelligent term, really stupid what's going on now. Florida State beating Xavier. I'm a Florida State fan along with Arizona, Rutgers. I really don't have any loyalties. But them beating Xavier. Texas A&M beating North Carolina. This is... What do you make of all this going on?
I don't know. For me, part of it is it's just March Madness. It's a one game thing. You never know what's going to happen in a one game thing. But it's also, you talked about it before about the one and done deal within college basketball, how a lot of players just go on right to the NBA. So teams are losing out on big players that if they stayed on the team, chemistry develops. They usually develop more unless something happens. But, you're seeing these big teams not have the kids continue on in their teams, and they have to continuously look for more recruits, hopefully 5-star recruits that pan out every single year.
Exactly. And, and a lot of you would hear, a lot of people that are big fans of college basketball are like, oh, this is awesome. This is the parity that we look for in sports. Please shut the hell up. All of you, shut the hell up. This all, for me, I look at it, this is a product, the NBA has had a heavy influence on NCAA basketball, and its influence has been to make it bad basketball. Did you watch Syracuse versus Michigan State at all, Dave?
I watched a little bit, but not a lot. I didn't watch a lot of it.
The ending was some of the worst basketball I've ever seen. With two of the best coaches in college, it was just bad basketball. And look at the score, 55-53. That was just miserable. And, and that's not just them. It's a lot of teams that are playing just very mediocre basketball, especially for the tournament. And I really attribute it to the one and done rule, like you just said. We have a lot of these Loyola Chicago, Buffalo, UMBC. They have a lot of 20 through 22-year-olds playing basketball. They have grown-ass men who have played with each other 3-4 years, know each other, going up against 18-year-olds and probably some 17-year-olds that, are still getting the hang of their coach's system. Now, I know Kentucky looked really good against Buffalo. Like, I'm not going to, they're a bunch of young kids. Coach Cal's a great coach. But all these other teams with these big-time, athletes with, especially UNC and things like that, Arizona, like, is it just me, or does it seem like this one-and-done rule is really watering down the competitiveness of college basketball?
I mean, that might be it. You also got to think of, how you said they're 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and these lower-seeded teams. Since they had the time to develop, and maybe they're playing more of a team-centered basketball instead of other organizations, where it's a lot easier to focus on yourselves and get the team together, because especially on the NBA right after. So, I mean, that might be a big part of it, but there's a lot of factors that go into these games.
There is a lot of factors, and style of play definitely gets it going, and being able to shoot a three. If a team gets hot from three, they can beat anyone. Obviously, that really goes a long way. But you also look at Xavier in their round of 32 matchup against Florida State, had a 12-point lead and blew it to the number 9 Florida State team. And, Florida State, they're a great rebounding team. They play great defense. Their offense leaves a lot to be desired. And Xavier has been one of the most explosive offenses all year. So you look at that, and then I think Cincinnati had like a 22-point lead.
Yeah, Cincinnati had a 22-point lead.
And they blow it to Nevada. And I know when in the podcast with Josh, if anyone listened to it, Josh was super high on Cincinnati. And for literally, 20, they started losing it around like the 11:30 mark. So for almost 30 minutes of that game, they played Cincinnati basketball, and then they collapsed. And, you look at a school like Nevada, again, they have a lot of seniors. They have a lot of juniors. They maybe aren't as talented as Cincinnati, but none of them cracked. None of them said die. They all just kept their poise, buckled down, and played. Where a team like Cincinnati, who, even though they're not known as one of the best schools around, they still get 5-star recruits. I doubt there's a lot of juniors and seniors. They probably do have kids leaving to try and be pros all the time.
Yeah.
It just goes to show, like, for me, I just think that we're watching a watered-down version of a really, really good tournament. And I was listening to the afternoon drive today with Craig Carlin, Maggie Gray, Bart Scott, which I think they're doing an okay job. I could do without Craig Carlin. Sorry. I just got to say it. I like Maggie Gray's amazing. Bart Scott's growing on me. He's good. He gives a good athlete perspective. Craig Carlin is just kind of there, and he's just kind of the host. He gives his opinions. I think his opinions kind of suck.
It's all right. He's doing what he can.
He is. And, he's trying his best. I think that if they're smart, they lose the C and CMB and just go to Maggie and Bart. But that's just, that's neither here nor there. If anyone from the fan is listening, you're probably going to ignore me anyway and turn off the podcast now that I'm talking about that. But I just really think, and they were talking about, they started running down since 2013, a 15 versus 2 loss, now a 16 versus 1, and then the 14 versus 3, how many losses? How many losses with 13 versus, and on and on. And I think they went down to 11-5, and the number kept growing, and they're like, oh, it was only a matter of time. And I'm like, no, this is a product of so many more schools getting so many more one-and-dones and going for that one-and-done kid and then being screwed because they have no depth and they have no camaraderie and they have no chemistry. So that's what I have not enjoyed watching this tournament. I'm sorry.
I've enjoyed enjoyed the tournament, mainly because I like it when like these ridiculous things happen in sports, because you never really see these. It's like actually being a part of history. I don't know. It's fun for me when this happens. But I mean, I can see where you're coming from your perspective. Like, I definitely think like that can be a legitimate reason to start. Like, when you have players just coming and going consistently, you can never actually build a solid foundation for the most part. But I mean, it also becomes due at one point when you're playing in a tournament where it's one game only, win or lose, and you move on. Whenever it's only one game, if the team is just having a bad day, then they're gone. That's it. That is their only chance.
Completely. But, David, honestly, tell me you'll be interested in a final with Loyola Chicago versus Purdue. Who the hell's interested in Loyola Chicago versus Purdue?
I mean, you're not wrong about that, but it's definitely something interesting. Like, it is interesting in a way. Like, it is like a how in the hell did this happen kind of thing. It's like looking at a platypus. How did a platypus happen? Like, what is it?
How did... Yeah, God, you got some explaining to do. God drinks. God drinks every once in a while, and platypuses became a thing. And so did Komodo dragons. Those things are friggin' scary.
Exactly. Like, it may not be like the blockbuster thing, but it's something that you're like, how did this get here? What happened that this just turned out?
Now, speaking of, I think a lot of this, the selection committee, they obviously did their best with the top seeds. They couldn't predict that the top seeds would suck this bad. But one thing that I chided them for during the March Madness preview, and their money grab, at least one of the two is paying off. Thank God Rhode Island took care of Oklahoma. They had no business being there. But Jim Boeheim, Syracuse, figuring out a way. I'm pretty sure Josh called this, that they'd figure out a way to weasel their way into the Sweet 16. There they are, playing Duke, a team that, sorry, Jerry, Syracuse has no business being in the tournament. Good for them making it to the Sweet 16. You finished 10th in the ACC. You finished 10th in your conference.
Yeah. Hey, they may not have it right, but you know what? As long as they're in it, they might as well keep trying to win.
Well, and Michigan State, and it wasn't, Michigan State should have whooped their ass. They were a much better team. No. But this is a lot on Tom Izzo. Why is Jackson, possibly a top 3 lottery pick, sitting the bench for the last 4 minutes of a game? Any game.
No idea.
It's like, what was Coach Izzo doing? Boeheim completely outcoached him. I'm not a big fan of Duke. I prefer Syracuse over Duke. I just have a vendetta on them right now. So, honestly, I hope Grayson Allen trips every single person on their team and makes them all roll an ankle. Because they have no business being there. Grayson, if you're listening to me, get your tripping shoes on. Get those clown shoes on. Trip the hell out of everybody.
Yeah, I still have no doubt that Duke's going to win.
Trip a ref. Trip a ref.
This is now March Madness.
This is March Madness. But you know what, though? I'm throwing all my marbles behind Florida State. They're playing Gonzaga. They're probably going to lose to Gonzaga, but they just beat Xavier, so who knows? So
you can keep people can keep saying, this team's probably going to lose to this team, and you could be right, but this tournament's proven that your predictions don't matter. They don't care about your predictions.
They really, really, really don't. So we're going to do a quick rundown. We're going to give our predictions, even though they're not going to matter, and probably going to be wrong. So we're going to start at the top. Kansas State versus Kentucky. Who do you have moving on out of those two?
I'm going to go with Kentucky. I'm just going to go with Kentucky. I got to go with Kentucky. Because, Kansas State, they had UMBC afterwards. They didn't have much after. I mean, UMBC did great against Virginia, but I didn't expect too much out of them. They're still a 16 seed. They played a great game, but I don't think that Kansas State had much of a challenge to get to Kentucky, and I think Kentucky's going to easily win.
Yeah, UMBC, they put up a fight against Kansas State. They only lost 50-43, so it wasn't that bad. But yeah, they got handled. They had a chance, and Kansas State pulled away late. Kansas State isn't one of those schools that has a lot of big time names. So they might be one of these cases where you're seeing some seniors and juniors make a difference. If the Kentucky from the Buffalo game shows up, then all bets are off. They're going to steamroll Kansas State. Kansas State has a shot, though, but I don't think enough of a shot. I'm going with the Blue Blood. I'm going with Kentucky as well. Let's travel down to the next game. Loyola Chicago, the Cinderella story, against the semi-Cinderella Nevada, I guess. Because Kansas State, too, being a 9. But Loyola Chicago, Nevada. Is the Cinderella story keep going, Dave?
I wanted to. I'm going to pick them because I wanted to. That's literally the only reason I'm going to pick them, because I want to see the Cinderella story keep going. Because this is just fun to me, watching how horribly brackets get busted.
Hell yeah. Loyola Chicago all the way. Aren't they the Retrievers? Is it like...
No, that was UMBC.
That was UMBC. Yeah, they should have went on just by the fact that they were the Golden Retrievers. Like, they have a dog. They have McGruff the Crime Dog on their jerseys. Like, that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. All right, but I picked Loyola Chicago as well. We're going to go up top. We're not going to go all the way through because that's kind of useless because we're going to be wrong anyway. We're going to go back up. We're going to go to the East region. Nova versus West Virginia. And I got to say, no one highlighted the Battle of West Virginia with West Virginia versus Marshall. Nobody highlighted that a lot. Even though West Virginia steamrolled, it was friggin' awesome that the state of West Virginia had a civil war. That was cool. But who do you got, Nova or West Virginia?
I'm going to go with Nova, mainly because I actually do like West Virginia, but I'm going to go with Nova because I want to see a one-seed succeed. More than one seed succeed.
I'm going to go with Nova as well, mainly because I really like Jay Wright. I think he's an unbelievable coach. I think he's underrated. You know, he's never mentioned with the top echelon until you actually see Nova playing. Then everyone mentions how good of a coach he is. But when they run down like the coaching trees of Krzyzewski, of Roy Williams, of Izzo, he's usually not mentioned. But he does a great job every single year at Nova. I really like Bobby Huggins over at West Virginia too, the head coach. He's awesome. That West Virginia defense is stifling, but I think Nova wins as well. Going down to the next game, Texas Tech, Purdue. Who you got?
Ooh, that's a bit... I think I might go with Texas Tech there. I'm not going to lie. I think I might have to go with them. They played a tough game against Florida. They found a way out of it, but I want to see them succeed. I would like that. And even though Purdue is good, but I think Texas Tech can pull out.
I agree. I think Texas Tech is better, but I'm going with Purdue because I want my Purdue versus Loyola Chicago final. That's what I want. So that's the only reason. Only reason. I think Purdue is a worse team. I think the Big Ten kind of sucks, even though Michigan still made it too somehow. But I'm not, Big Ten basketball, I was not too big on it anyway. But I'm predicting them just because I want to see that awful championship. So we're going to move on. Florida State. Florida State versus Gonzaga. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Zaga. I got to go with Zaga. I know how much you love Florida State, but I got to go with Zaga.
I'm going with the Seminoles. I think they're going to control the boards. I think they're going to grind. They're going to play defense. They're going to do the same exact game plan they had against the Xavier team. Xavier was explosive. They played great offense. They're battle-tested. Same as Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a little more fundamental, but I think that Florida State grinds it out, wins it late. And they move on because go Seminoles. Next, Michigan versus A&M. Who you got?
All right, so you know what? Usually I'm mean to Colton, but this time I'm going to go with Colton. Go blue. Let Michigan win in that one.
Yeah, screw Colton Gesser, but Michigan probably should win this game. A&M is coming off really high from beating North Carolina. And you know what? Actually, screw that. A&M took care of Providence, and then they took care of North Carolina. They might be the hottest team in this tournament right now. I know all of them have won to get there. Michigan played Montana, and then they barely beat Houston in a game they should have lost on a stupid last-second three that went in somehow. Texas A&M rolls. Texas A&M rolls. So I got Texas A&M playing Florida State the next round because screw Michigan, screw you, Colton. And I do like Gonzaga. I just think Florida State wins in a late one.
All right.
But again, screw Colton. Anyway, next game, Kansas versus Clemson. Who do you think wins that one?
I think Kansas is going to win. I think we're going to see both Nova and Kansas show themselves as actual one seeds here. They're going to advance. I wouldn't mind seeing Clemson, but I think Kansas is going to make it.
I completely agree. I think Kansas as well. I think they have more firepower. I just think they're a better team overall. I think we see a pretty good game, but I think it might come down to the buzzer, but I think Kansas is going to prevail.
Yeah.
Last game that we're going to talk about, stupid Syracuse versus also stupid Duke. Who wins?
So I sincerely think Duke is going to win 9 times out of 10, but I'm going to pick Syracuse mainly because I want to see it happen. And
you're taking the stupid.
Because listen, Boeheim probably knows he shouldn't be in here. So he's going to do whatever he can to even try to advance.
Well, he did this. Didn't he do this? He did this a few years ago when they were the 10 seed, and he made it all the way to the Final Four.
Yeah, so I want it to happen. I want to see it happen because I even said Duke should never be in this tournament. But
they were the last team in.
Keep going.
They were the last team. The last team in. The last team. The selection committee was looking at teams like OK State, who was actually worthy of being in. And then they sit there and they go, well, who the hell knows who anyone from Oklahoma State? But they know who Jim Boeheim in Syracuse is. Let's make money. And they're making money. Jim Boeheim, good job. Pay the Syracuse kids. They just made the NCAA a boatload of money. But I'm going with it again. Grayson Allen is going to literally and figuratively trip Syracuse. And Duke is going to move on. Pun intended. All right, so now that we got that out of our systems, we are going to move on to a little bit more of a civil topic, but really, not really. NFL free agency. Big moves on the start of free agency. Biggest one, obviously, is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, he was, the hot commodity at quarterback. Our Jets were after him. There was a bevy of teams. Denver was in it for a while.
Yep.
But ultimately, he ends up going with the Minnesota Vikings. And his deal was for 3 years and $84 million, all guaranteed. That's the first ever fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. Is Cousins worth that?
Is Cousins worth it?
Yeah, is he worth an $84 million guaranteed contract?
The thing is, I really like Cousins. I do. I wanted him on the Jets. I thought he was going to be very good for us. I think he's going to be very good for the Vikings. But is he worth all of that fully guaranteed? I don't think so. But you know what? If the Vikings end up with a Lombardi trophy in their hand, they're going to say, damn right he was.
Yeah, and you look at it, I'm looking at what the Vikings have done. They pick up Cousins for 3 years, $84 million. They trade for Trevor Siemian, which is interesting, making him their backup. They also picked up a former Jet, Sheldon Richardson, on a 1 year, $8 million prove-it, which makes that defense that much better. Everett Griffin rushing from the outside. That defense was already stout. That line now gets better. My feelings on Cousins, I didn't want him on the Jets. I wasn't going to be angry if the Jets paid him. And apparently their offer was 3 years, $30 million a year, guaranteed $90, and he chose to take $6 million less to go play with the Vikings. So,
because I remember him saying he wanted to win, and I honestly, the Vikings have a better chance of winning than we do. That's no doubt.
Without a doubt, they had a Super Bowl caliber roster last year. So, is he worth 3 years, $84 million? I don't think he's worth that. He hasn't eclipsed. I don't think he's ever eclipsed 30 touchdowns. I think he was like 27 last year, 24 the year before. His turnovers are low. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, so that's a good thing. But he's had some weapons in Washington. His issue is, and a lot of people point to, he never really had a defense while he was there. He needed to score 40 points a game in order to win games. So there is that.
Yeah.
But, is he worth 3 years, $84 million? You're worth what someone's willing to pay you. I wouldn't have paid him it. Even if the Jets would have given him the 3 years, $90 guaranteed, that would have been a lot. I wouldn't have been mad about it. He's a solid quarterback. You can win football games with him. I think the Vikings can win a Lombardi trophy with him. I think it's really cool. He got the first guaranteed contract. that opens up so many doors for so many players. Because, again, I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and I forget who I was listening to, but apparently we were so used to seeing basketball and baseball get guaranteed contracts, fully guaranteed. I thought it was a thing that they negotiated in the CBA in both leagues. Apparently it's not. They don't have to get fully guaranteed neither in those leagues. It just became a precedent that's set, and it just happens, and the agents and players won't accept anything less. Can you see this being the start of something? If the next wave of, I think Aaron Rodgers is up soon. I think Brady is up soon. Does this give them leverage now to go, hell no, if Kirk Cousins got fully guaranteed, you're giving me more and you're fully guaranteeing it?
If Brady is able to stay that long, he may ask for it. I don't know. With the system he's under, he may not. Aaron Rodgers, I want him to. I think Aaron Rodgers deserves it. I don't know how, it doesn't seem like Green Bay entirely cares too much about Aaron Rodgers sometimes with the moves they make. So it's like, man, I feel like that man, what he's done after having Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers, what he's done for that organization, I think he is definitely worth the money.
So you think that, if a 3-year, $90 million, what the Jets were willing to do, would be something that he would do? Because I can't see teams, if they're going to guarantee deals, I can't see them going more than what they did with Cousins, a 3-year, shorter-term deal.
They won't do. No, they won't do more than. I don't think they would do more than that, because otherwise that would probably absolutely destroy them. But if it's anyone that's worth it, it's going to be the players like Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so but I just think it's pretty cool. I don't think Cousins is worth that, but the precedent that it sets, I think, is pretty awesome. That's just the way. And if the quarterbacks, like I said, I think it was Boomer and Gio in the morning, and they were saying the quarterbacks have to be the guys that do it. If the quarterbacks all start demanding fully guaranteed contracts, it will eventually trickle down. But they're the guys that need to start doing it. If Odell Beckham does it, they're gonna go, haha, cool, trade block, get away from us.
Yeah.
But it's something that's, it's going to be fun to see in the future. Now, we're going to move on. There's been a lot of big free agent signings. We're going to talk a little bit about our Jets. Our Jets have been busy.
They have.
Mike McCagnon, Todd Bowles, obviously feeling the heat. We're in a rebuild, but we're really getting much, much closer to getting out of this rebuild and becoming a team that hopefully can deal with the playoffs. I'm going to run down our biggest moves that we made. Re-signed Josh McCown, 1 year, $10 million. Signed Teddy Bridgewater, 1 year, $5 million. Signed Isaiah Crowell, 3 years, $12 million to go along with Bilal Powell and Elijah McGuire. We got Avery Williamson, an inside linebacker, for 3 years, $22.5 million. Didn't even bring back Demario Davis. He's going to step in there. And then we got Trumaine Johnson, which is our big signing. 5 years, $72.5 million contract. The biggest contract ever for a Jet. Ever. This is in the history of the Jets. And then we re-signed Morris Claiborne, 1 year, $7 million, making our secondary, because we still have Buster Screen. We still have Jamal Adams. Still have Marcus May. So that's a pretty damn good secondary right now.
Yep.
And icing on the cake, the Jets traded up from number 6 to 3 to guarantee themselves one of the big 4 quarterbacks coming up. How do you feel the Jets have done so far this year and during their offseason?
I have liked every single move that the Jets have done. Literally every single move, because honestly, each one at least has an upside to it. It's not like the Jets are staying back and just worrying about everything. No, we had the cap space. We said we were going to be very active during free agency, and we're proving it. We're filling the spots we need to fill. We're getting Trumaine Johnson was an awesome pickup. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I liked him before he was injured. I thought he was good. I thought he could do a lot for the Vikings. In fact, they're a field goal away from advancing.
In the words of Joe, I think Teddy Bridgewater can really spin it. And Joe obviously stole that from Gruden.
Yeah, I think that every move has been good. Crowell, hard runner. McCown was developed as the complete leader of our team last year.
Now is McCown going to be Fitzpatrick 2.0? Is he going to shit the bed this year?
I don't even know if he's going to start, depending on what happens during.
They announced him as the starter already. When they signed him, they said he was going to be the starter.
That's perfectly fine, but let's say he's not looking as good during the preseason compared to Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think Todd Bowles is going to take the chance on his job of not starting Teddy Bridgewater.
That's very true. I think there's a chance that he does the offseason, has his fun, and then goes, all right, sign me as a coach. And he's one of the QB coaches. Because apparently he's just as good as a coach.
Yeah, honestly. I would like to see him helping out whoever we draft if they're not good enough to start yet. I would like to see him helping them out, learning the game, so that maybe they can come in next year if Teddy doesn't work out at all.
Now, speaking of the draft, to move up from 6 to 3, the Jets traded with the Indianapolis Colts. They gave the Colts their number 6 picks, both of their second-round picks, and a second-round pick for next year. People are criticizing this. I think criticizing this move is asinine. They think that we gave up too much. How do you feel? Do you think we gave up too much?
Not with where I think we feel like we're going to be actually pretty soon. I think that both Bowles and our GM, I'm sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing his last name.
Mike McCagnon.
McCagnon. I always say Mechanican or whatever.
Mike Mechanic. Mikey the Mechanic. I'll fix your car. Come to MetLife.
Exactly. It's awful. Anyway, I think they feel like that we're going to actually be in a great position, especially with not entirely the strongest AFC anymore. Like, we could probably be in the playoffs next year, depending on how everything works out on free agency.
Absolutely. And the way I look at it, yeah, did he give up 3 second-rounders? One of them was from Seattle that we got off the Sheldon Richardson trade, so it wasn't ours anyway. What I see, though, is he didn't give up any future first-rounders. That is huge in my eyes because this year we can draft a kid. If he sits a year, say we're mediocre again, we suck again, we win 5 games again, we're right back within the top 5, top 6 next year to make another franchise-changing pick. If we don't start this QB, we don't have to win this year. I think our roster is a lot better, but it also puts in a safety net. And if this quarterback absolutely sucks and whoever we pick isn't ready, back to the drawing board. Let's go get ourselves another quarterback next year. I think it's a great fail-safe because he didn't give up any first-round picks. A lot of people say second round's building block. That's just fine. You can find second-round great players. Marcus May is an unbelievable safety. I think he played better than Jamal Adams last year, and he was the second-rounder. But
well, I mean, they also have very different play styles.
Absolutely. It's Palomalu and Clark on a lesser scale. Palomalu's a psycho that makes the big hits and, the flashy plays. And Clark was just a steady safety back there that played the position really well. That's how I see those two, just in a lesser form right now. But the way I look at it, yeah, he gave up second-round picks, but your second-round picks, they can be generational players, but your generational players come at the top of the first round. He put us in a good situation that if we fail again this year, we can try again with a really high pick next year. So I don't think he screwed up anything.
Well, I mean, you also have to think about it this way. I mean, thinking towards the future, let's say our pick this year, they look good to them because they don't show them. Maybe Teddy or Josh starts most of the year or something like that. And our rookie looks good coming out that they think they can start the next year and he'll look good. We shop Teddy for maybe a couple rounds, like for some picks or something, and then it'll work out that way. Like we can still shop people after this year, and we could get those picks back where if there's something else that we need.
We could do that, but also they're both on 1-year deals, McCown and Bridgewater too, so they come off. So if our guy's ready, we don't have to deal with either of those two guys. So.
That's true.
But, I think that the Jets did well. I'm looking forward to the draft. I'm thinking that the Browns pick quarterback. I think they pick Allen. Big dude, knows how to play in cold weather, and is really similar to Flacco and Big Ben. It's worked in that division for those two guys. I think they go Jared Allen. I think the Giants go quarterback or they trade out. I don't think Barkley's in play. I know Giants fans want to hear all about Barkley. Again, to you, all of you, shut up. Barkley is not going to save your franchise. Stop making comparisons to Ezekiel Elliott. One thing that Ezekiel Elliott had was a line. The Giants, oh my God, you guys, who'd they just get? They got from New England, Nate Solder. Nate Solder's a really good left tackle. The rest of your line sucks. You lost Justin Pugh. Justin Pugh's on Arizona. That was another one of your big guys. You still have Flowers. Flowers is a dumpster fire. Like, your line's awful. You need a future quarterback, and you need to address the line. Getting Saquon Barkley is Todd Gurley 2 years ago when the Rams didn't have a line, and he averaged like under 3 yards a carry. You need a quarterback.
Barkley at that point.
You need a quarterback, you need a line. So I don't think he's in play. I think if they're in love with one quarterback and the Browns select a quarterback they're in love with, then they trade out and they get a bunch of picks and they start to address that line. They maybe get a Mason Rudolph or something like that. I think Mason Rudolph is going to be the sleeper of this year. But that's what I think the Giants do. And I think the Jets, I think they fell in love with either Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield. I don't know how they have them ranked, but I think if either of them fall to them, they're going to snag them.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not going to lie, I really want to see Baker. And for the most part, the thing about Baker that really intrigues me for us is his attitude. Because, I know a lot of people like to compare him to Johnny Manziel, but I don't think that comparison is entirely there. I feel like he has more confidence than cockiness, Baker Mayfield.
Absolutely. He's a gamer, and I just see that, gunslinger mentality, good or bad. It can be both. Jay Cutler's gunslinger mentality, obviously bad. He's a pudding face, and he's out of the league now. Matt Stafford, Brett Favre. For Brett Favre, really good. For Matt Stafford, it's been a good career. So, we can get that. Speaking of guys that have the ability to sling the ball around, but he can't stay healthy enough to do it, but he keeps on making money. Sam Bradford got 2 years, $40 million out of the Arizona Cardinals. How the hell does this guy keep getting paid? He doesn't stay on the field.
It's like he gets paid to go and get hurt. I don't understand it. And, I really like Sam Bradford when he's not hurt. I think he can be pretty good. But he consistently gets hurt. It's like if you're going to say someone is injury prone in the NFL, you are going to point to Sam Bradford.
Did the NFL just refuse to start covering his medical bills so he needs these big contracts to pay for it? How does he get these?
I don't understand it. I really don't. I know Arizona needed a QB, but I don't know. Maybe they could have done something else. Or at least not paid him as much.
He's literally the smartest guy in football. I don't care what anybody says. The guy just keeps getting paid. Everywhere he goes, he makes bank. He's probably one of the richest players in the league for never playing football. Good for you, Sam Bradford. I want your life. And I just want to talk, before we move on, two things. One, as I scroll down, I'm on a thing where I can see all the transactions for all teams. There's a noticeably blank team. The Dallas Cowboys have done absolutely nothing. Nothing. Besides lose players. They've lost 2 players.
It's really weird.
They need a receiver. Des Bryant's getting old. Terrence Williams isn't the guy. They need someone to complement Cole Beasley underneath. Allen Robinson was out there. Sammy Watkins was out there.
Yeah.
Come on. They need someone.
And they just lost Skandrick. Skandrick said, I want out. He said, just get me out of here. And now they lost him to the Redskins.
Yeah, they lost him to the Skins.
I don't know what the Cowboys are doing.
They didn't go get a corner now. What are they? Are they just going to have Zeke try and play all 11? That line and Zeke are also going to go on defense. Just do stuff. You guys are the best on our team. Dak, you continue to look like you ate dinner between the half as well, because you're a chubby guy. But besides that, what the hell? I don't get it.
I don't know either. It's really weird, because you would think they would want to make moves, because last season wasn't their best season.
I'm dumbfounded. I guess they're doing addition by subtraction. I don't know. But the team was one to me this offseason. We're going to do this quickly, because then we're going to move on. The Cleveland Browns, their new GM, Dorsey, is his last name. I don't know his first name. Probably should have done better research. That's why it's his sports opinions, not sports research. The Browns have made NFL moves. They are not making, laughing stock moves. Tyrod Taylor was a good trade. Carlos Hyde is a hell of a running back. Jarvis Landry to go with Corey Coleman and Josh Gordon. If Josh Gordon could just stop smoking some bud, he's a really good player. Darren Fells at tight end to go with Nduku. Chris Hubbard, offensive tackle. Nice 5-year, $37.5 million deal. They're making moves. They're probably going to pick either Josh Allen, Sam Darnold. I don't think they're going to go with Barkley. They're probably going to trade the 4, but if not, they might pick up Barkley there. Or if I'm them, I don't pick up Barkley at all because I got Carlos Hyde. I go get Chubb, the pass rusher. What do you think they're going to do? Like, do you think they've won so far this year on paper? I know that they haven't played yet, but I think they definitely won.
Oh no, they have won the offseason. They have won this offseason mainly because it's the Cleveland Browns actually making moves to improve. I actually dislike the Cleveland Browns for basically not. It's like they didn't care about the organization. To only win one game in the past 2 years, I'm just like, why are you an organization anymore? Why are you even in the NFL if you don't look like you're trying to compete at all? And so I'm happy to see them making all of these moves. They're definitely going to be an improved team next year. They're definitely going to win, I think, at least 3 games next year. Like,
woo, 3 games.
Their record in the last 2 years.
I'm calling it right now. You're hearing it from me. Cleveland Browns wild card. Right now.
No.
Absolutely. That offense is going to move the ball. Tyrod Taylor, as long as he can stay healthy with those weapons, that running back, it hurts that they just lost Joe Thomas, the best tackle in football. But Chris Hubbard's good. They have other good players on that line. I think they can make the wild card just because I think Big Ben doesn't know if he wants to play football anymore. Joe Flacco's elite, but we're going to leave it at that because his eliteness just speaks for itself. And the Bungles just figure out ways to do Bungles things. They re-signed a guy that can't get past the first round or 8 games. So, as a coach. So, Cleveland can make the wild card. I don't think they can win the division. I think they can make a wild card run. I don't think they'll be a laughingstock of the NFL this year.
No, they're definitely not going to be a laughingstock of the NFL. Now, they might even come out in the AFC North as like the second there. Like, I think the Steelers are definitely going to win the AFC North, but they can probably beat out both the Ravens and the Bengals.
9 games. I'm calling 9 games this year that they're going to win.
I'm not entirely sold on it because I don't know. It's still the Browns, and it's still also the first year all of these people are going to be together.
Listen, if I can bring them to a Super Bowl with Johnny Manziel and Madden, they can do 9 wins in real life. Damn it!
I mean, it's a weekend AFC. You never know what could happen, but I just don't see it happening.
All right, so we're going to move on from free agency, and you guys are going to get a chance for me to do another rant. This one happens to be about America's pastime that's probably past its time for being America's pastime. Yeah, tongue twister. Enjoy that. Spring training. Mets fans, Yankees fans, all fans. Watch it with bated breath because it's baseball again. And, Noah Syndergaard did 3 innings and 6 strikeouts. Oh, cool. Luis Severino, 5 innings and 7 strikeouts. They look so good. They look so crisp. Pitching against Manchester High School's finest. Come on now. The guys that they're pitching to aren't going to be in the league. Like, that's clear. Everyone knows it. They're not going to be in the league next year. Or this upcoming year, more than likely, unless they get called up in September when the rosters go to every single player ever to play baseball. But these guys aren't there. I hate when exhibition, anything, basketball, football. Football doesn't do it as much because everyone in football is just like, don't get hurt. Take the starters out. I don't want to watch this. Don't get hurt. But basketball this year with all the rookies and all the covering them and how they did during summer league, and now spring training and tracking home runs, it's absolutely useless. I hate every moment of it. I think that it shouldn't even be on TV. Do you give a damn about spring training, Dave?
Not really. But I don't know. I don't think most people care too much about preseasons in like any sport in general, unless it's the organizations themselves that really care about it, or you're just really a big fan of the team and you want to see like specific thing. You just want to make sure they're doing the same thing that they've been doing last year, or they've improved somewhat. That at least shows maybe in spring training or in any preseason. But I've never really cared about spring training or any preseason of any sport too much, and I don't think most people do.
So now I mentioned the Mets, I mentioned the Yankees. We're in New York. Me and you are both Yankees fans, but I do know a little bit about the Mets. You do too. We have friends that are Mets fans. Robert Planter, stand up. I just want to talk real quick. Like I said, I listen to the Fan a lot at WFAN 66 AM. And a lot of Mets fans call in. And Mets fans are the most miserable people on the planet. They're the most optimistic, but miserable at the same exact time. And all I hear is I bring up spring training because Mets fans are the worst. It's, did you see Steven Matz had a terrible outing? Or, Harvey had a great outing. He looks like he's on his way back. It's spring training. And they're so pumped. And, the outlook for the Mets are the same as it was last year, same as it is 2 years ago. That starting pitching of Syndergaard, DeGrom, Harvey, Matz, Wheeler needs to be stellar, or otherwise they don't win. They have to either go to Lugo or Gazelman after that, who were awful last year, and they just need to win. The guy that they just signed, Vargas, is injured already. He took a comebacker off his hand, which is really Mets, that a guy that they signed to be a starter in the starting five took a comebacker off his hand in spring training and is out for a while. Good job, Mets. Injury starting already. But they're hitting. They have good power hitters and probably the slowest lineup in baseball. But good power hitters in a park that isn't good for power hitters. It's really... The Mets, if their starting pitching isn't lights out, they have a good closer in Famiglia. Their bullpen is really iffy. My Mets outlook is if they go 500, they're in really good shape this year. They could contend for a wild card if the starters stay healthy. Do you think the Mets can make any noise, or is this going to be another lost Mets year where the fans are done already?
It's probably going to be another lost year, honestly. I mean, for the most part, usually I hear jokes from either like Doc or Matt about how they're always injured, and I don't think it's going to change. Usually, people that are injury prone are going to stay injury prone. People are going to get injured all the time, and I just don't see them doing too much. Like your 500 outcome, it seems like the most plausible for them as a good year.
Absolutely. And, honestly, I'm probably going to pay attention to most of the Harvey games. I want to see how he does, because if he does well, sorry, Mets fans, he's giving his Yankees tryout this year. So he's not going to stay around probably next year, and he'll be in pinstripes, and he'll be just another really good Mets player that's a Yankee and probably wins a championship with us. Sorry, guys. Speaking of the Yankees, speaking of championships, you know more about that because you're a Yankees fan. We talked a little bit about this. We talked about it before. I think your opinion's everyone's opinion, but how do you feel about the Yanks? You feeling as high as all of us?
Yes. Oh, hell yes. There's no doubt I'm feeling as high as all of you because it's just such a fun lineup. Everything about it is so much fun. Like, there's no way that you can't feel good about it. Especially the hitters. Like, you got to feel good about it.
So over under 7 runs a game. What do you think?
Over under 7 runs a game?
Yeah, that's a high number in baseball, but I think it's plausible for this lineup.
I think I'm still going to go under for 7 runs a game, but it might be like 5. It won't be too far under.
Now, our bullpen comes back, and, with all of this fanfare with the lineup, people forget that the strength of the Yankees, I think, is still the bullpen. Yes, we have Giancarlo Stanton. Judge is back. Sanchez is healthy for a full year. Didi's good. Greg Bird is healthy. All the names are there. The lineup is fantastic. Ellsbury starting the year on the DL. What a friggin' surprise. But, you look at it, our starting pitchers, if they play like they did last year, we have a real good shot. They gave us good innings. We need, Tanaka to be better more often. He can't come along late like he did.
He was inconsistent, but you know what? When he actually showed up, he definitely showed up. Like he showed what we wanted from him consistently.
Absolutely. And, Luis Severino really needs to be the ace and take that by the balls this year, and Sonny Gray needs to pitch better. Those are the big three guys. I think Jordan Montgomery is going to take a nice step. I think he might even jump in to be our number 4 guy. And CC, as long as he's fat CC, we're in good shape. If he goes back to skinny CC, we're in trouble.
I think he's going to stay fat CC. I mean, CC usually gives you what CC is going to give you. CC has been himself for a while.
We need fat CC. Don't be skinny CC. Skinny CC's terrible. Good for your health, bad for wins. But, and then we talk about, the bullpen. Chapman is still there. Betances, if he can get back on track. We have David Robertson as a setup. We still have Tommy Canley there, who throws just straight 100-mile-per-hour stuff. I'm forgetting someone, but he's another stud who they might want to stretch out as a starter. I forget his name, but he's great. That's our strength right there. So my outlook on the Yankees is same as yours. I think sky's the limit. I think World Series expectations isn't too much. Are they your World Series favorite over the Astros?
I'm going to say yes because I'm a Yankees fan, no doubt. But I also think they can do it. We were probably where we shouldn't be as a young team last year, fighting to get into the World Series and almost making it. And I think we can definitely do it this year.
So does it matter who manages them? I know Joe Girardi's out. I didn't think he deserved to be fired. Aaron Boone's in. He's never managed before. Can a stick manage his team and they win 95 games?
I mean, I think it's all possible with this lineup. I mean, maybe I'm overselling this lineup, but I love it. I love how ridiculous it looks.
All right, so I'm on board with that. But, we can only talk so much that hasn't ever been said about the Yankees. So we're going to move on to really my big story so far, something I didn't think I'd get to see again in my life, a competitive Tiger Woods. Tiger is back. And, I know he's probably one swing away from throwing his back out for good, but he's lost some weight. That muscle that he had, he's not Jack Tiger. He's back to being skinny, fit Tiger. He's swinging the golf club really well again. We're just going to run down his season so far, starting over at the Hero World Challenge. He burst back onto the scene, tied for 9th with a -8. Farmers Insurance Open was probably one of his worst. He tied for 23. He was -3. The next one was the Genesis Open. He got cut. But since then, the Honda Classic, he finished 12th, even par. Valspar Classic, finished second at -9, 1 stroke behind Casey. And then this past weekend, he's -10, tied for 5th in a comeback for Rory McIlroy, where Rory McIlroy wins -18. But Tiger Woods is probably there and probably is the leader going into the clubhouse if he doesn't have one bad hit off the tee into a backyard. The Masters is coming up. Tiger is shut down until the Masters, apparently. Can Tiger win the Masters? Can Tiger win more of these slams and more of these big tournaments? And are we going to get to see the old Tiger again? Should people be scared in the PGA?
I'm not entirely sure if we're going to see old Tiger again, because old Tiger was something that really probably shouldn't happen many times.
David, he had one 35-plus foot putt a round. A 43-footer. A 43-footer he knocks in. It's insane.
I understand that completely. He may get very close to old Tiger, but it's not going to be something like old Tiger. It'll be a completely different story, obviously. But I don't think it'll be something like old Tiger. He can probably win again. He's been playing extremely well. He's getting closer and closer. He can smell that one spot. He can smell the win. I think he'll be able to do it, but I don't know if it'll be old Tiger.
I think we're going to get to see, obviously there's certain different things, but I think we're going to get to see old Tiger. I definitely think he can win tournaments. I think he can win majors again. I'm 100% convinced he can win majors. Now, do you think that, there's some young guys, Casey is probably the best player in the world right now. They have, Rory McIlroy made his comeback. Justin Rose is there. Henrik Stenson still. Jason Day, Reed, Thomas. There's a lot of really good guys right now. Do you see him having a more competitive field? Phil Mickelson's playing better. Is it going to be more difficult than it was in the past for him to win these because of the talent that's there?
I mean, that could be a possibility, but we're also talking about Tiger Woods here. Tiger Woods was probably the scariest individual in golf in a while.
Probably in sports. I think that he was probably more intimidating than Michael, than Kobe, than Gretzky, than all of these guys, because there was literally Tiger versus the field every time, and you mostly picked Tiger.
Yeah, like it was astonishing what he was able to do. I think the competition, I mean, it might stifle him a little bit, but if he comes back to an old Tiger, like this style and the ability to win like that, it's going to be extremely hard to stop him, no matter how good the competition is.
Absolutely. Now, for me, I don't think there's much that can stop Tiger. I see him coming back on the trail. I see him really hitting the ball well. He's putting really well again, which is huge. What, people think his back can hurt him again. I think he's past his back. I really do. I think he's going to be fine. I think he understands now how to get ready, how to warm up, how to keep it loose. The only thing I can think that could really stop Tiger, and if all the other competitors are listening, someone might want to do this. Somebody needs to pay Elon to be there at every hole holding a golf club. It will bring back flashbacks. It will bring back, the time where Tiger took his stumble fall. And it will be kind of like when someone paid the guy in Billy Madison to go, "You're going to miss this putt, you jackass." All you need to do is to pay her to stand there and go, "You're not coming home, you jackass." And that's it. Done. I think Tiger would be done forever mentally. What do you think? Is that a bold move, a winning strategy for another competitor?
That would be the most ridiculous mind game I've ever seen in my life in sports. And it also would be, what you just said reminds me of like the South Park episode where they had Tiger Woods game and they were fighting. You just remind me of that episode. That's all I could think of when you said that.
But, that to me would be the only way to stop Tiger right now. So if you're listening, Rory, if you're listening, Phil, you guys got money. And I'm pretty sure Elon would love to do that because I'm pretty sure she's remarried, but she has to still hate Tiger with all the public spectacle. So you know what? Get her at Augusta, put her out there in the gallery, and just have her hold a 9-iron. I'm telling you. And maybe just have wasn't he driving an Escalade when he crashed? Just have her wear a big Cadillac emblem.
Almost 30.
He was wear the Cadillac emblem Flavor Flav would wear the watches around her neck. Done. The dude's done. He will never play golf again. He might just leave in tears and fetal in the clubhouse.
Oh, that'd be awful.
That'd be awful, but it would also be the greatest trolling ever. And whoever did it and would be responsible for it should be awarded the championship right away. All right, so with that, we end off on a little fun. That concludes episode 15 of the Sports Opinions podcast. David, I really want to thank you for coming on again.
It's great to be here. It's always fun to do this. I mean, I have fun talking about Tiger Woods getting manhandled by a 9-9 apparently.
Yes, it is lots of fun to think about and also pretty damn disturbing the way my brain works. But yeah, definitely had a good time. David, again, where can people find you on Twitter?
At DCuesta308.
And again, David, he does SAP Productions on Twitch. If you're a gamer, if you like video games, I've tried to watch faithfully most of their streams. It's a lot of fun banter between him and Scott. They're pretty damn good at video games. They just have a good time with it. They're fun to watch. They're not suitable for work or children, so if you have small kids or you're at work, don't watch them. But definitely recommend going on there. It's on Twitch. It's SAD Productions, capital S, lowercase a, capital D _ Productions. If you search for them, you'll find them. On Twitter, they're at ProductionSAD. I recommend it. Go follow them. And now if you're looking for me on Twitter, I'm at AQuestaNBN. If you're looking for sports opinions, we're at SportsOpinion30. Dave, thank you again. I appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Great being here.
All right, and that was the end of this episode of Sports Opinions Podcast. So long.